Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us again, I hope, or if it's your first time, welcome, welcome. I am Michelle Morris from Consolidated Planning Group. We have an excellent webinar for you today with Shemica Allen. She is going to talk to us about how to prepare for the next school year, what to do over the summer, how to prevent that summer slide. The webinar is called Summer IEP Tips and what a parent can do to prepare for the next school year. So thank you, Shemica, so much for being here with us today.
Michelle, you're welcome.
And thank you, everybody who's joining us. I want to let you know that we are recording this webinar. And later on today, everybody will receive a copy of the slides, and they will receive a link to our YouTube channel where this webinar will be housed. We put all of our webinars on our YouTube channel after we present them. So if you have to step out early, don't worry, you're going to be able to see this information later. Also, I want to let you know that we cannot see you or hear you because we are in webinar mode on Zoom. So the best way for you to contribute your questions or comments is to put them into the chat box. I can see it there. I can let Shemica know if we have questions for her. And that's really the best way to communicate with us as we're presenting. So please, anything that you want to let us know or ask, you can put in the chat box. So again, I am with Consolidated Planning Group. We present these webinars 2, 3, sometimes even more than that, times a week. And why should you pay any attention to what we have to say at Consolidated Planning Group? Well, we are a financial planning firm that focuses on helping families with a loved one who has some kind of intellectual or developmental disability. We've been in the financial services world for 30 years. And when the owner of our company was going through all this with her 2 children with disabilities, she saw how difficult and confusing all of this information was. And she decided that our company should really focus on helping so that you don't have to go through the same struggles that she went through. So, like I said, we've been doing this for about 30 years. We are located just outside of Houston in the Sugar Land area, and we serve families all across Texas and all across the United States. We are members of the Special Needs Planning Academy, and we are National Social Security advisors. So really, families come to us for help with things like protection plans, protecting your family in case you or the main breadwinner becomes disabled or passes away. Planning for that lifetime of care for your loved one. If your individual needs care for the rest of their life, or if they're not able to be independent, what does that look like and what does that cost? And then how are you going to save up the money to be able to pay for that once you're gone? We do a lot of help with transition planning. There's a big change that comes along after high school or when your child turns 18. There's a lot of moving parts that you need to know about. We help with ABLE accounts. And like I said, we're here to advocate for you and to educate you. There are over 263,000 financial advisors across the United States. And out of those 263,000, fewer than 200 focus on special needs planning like we do. That's fewer than 0.1% of all the financial advisors in the United States who really focus on the nuances of special needs financial planning. So we truly are here for you. We truly get it. We live it, breathe it. We are in this every single day. We can help you develop a future care plan. And the time to start that planning is right now. It doesn't matter how old your child is. It doesn't matter what you have or have not done. It is time to get started. The sooner you start, the more impact your small changes can make over the long haul. We want you to be thinking about what's going to happen after high school. There are great educational options, there are vocational options, and there are residential communities that might be a good option for your loved one. Partial care or full care, whatever it might look like for your family. They do have some waiting lists, so please tour these communities early and the schools and just see what's available, so that when you make a decision on where you would like your loved one to potentially live in the future or work, you can have the choice to say yes or no and not have to be on a long waiting list. And do make careful considerations before you just assume that a sibling is going to be willing or able to take care of your individual, or that your individual might have a little resentment if a sibling is stepping into a parenting role. It can go both ways. So keep that in mind when you're making your plans for the future. All right, so I want to again welcome Shemica Allen to the talk today. She's got some great tips and ideas, and again, put your questions and comments in the chat so we can get to you. Shemica, thank you again for being here with us.
Thank you, Michelle. So as Michelle said, my name is Shemica Allen. I am the owner of Personalized Learning Solutions. Michelle, next slide. Just a little bit of background. I am from the educational world. I have over 15 years of experience in the realm of special education as a teacher and an administrator. I was administrator over a middle school special ed department and a high school. Now I spend my days advocating. I started out just in the state of Texas, but I can service the entire United States. But I have majority of my clients are in the Southeast, clients in Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, Florida. The other big thing I do in the advocacy world is I am on the educational staff for COPA. If you've never heard of COPA, it's on the screen. It'll be in the slides. It is the top nonprofit in the United States for lawyers and attorneys and parents of students with disabilities. So currently I'm on staff, what we call our special education advocacy training. So I teach 10 months out of the school year for them on different days of the week, teaching parents how to advocate, teaching new advocates into the field how to advocate. And then also I served on our state's Special Education Continuing Advisory Committee starting December 2017 to 2022. So I did 5 years working to advocating a little at the state level. So today in the presentations, we're going to talk about what is Summer Slide. You probably hear that in your IEP meetings, ARD meetings, regression. We're going to talk about strategies that you can do in the summer to keep your child engaged in their academics and work on their behavior goals or social goals. We're going to talk about some retention activities and data collection that you can use, data collection tips you can do over the summertime that you can use to present data to your IEP meetings and your ARD team. And you'll hear me go interchangeably. I say ARD IEP because I work in other states, and as you know, in Texas, we're the only state that says ARD meeting. Everybody else says IEP. So about 3 years ago, when I expanded, I had to stop saying ARD meeting. So you'll hear me say them interchangeably. It's the same thing. And then I want to talk about, as a parent, what you should be doing as far as organizing your child's educational records over the summer so you can be ready for next school year. So Michelle, next slide. So what is Summer Slide? So the definition, Summer Slide is the result of a lack of academic engagement and instructional learning opportunities. You may hear in the school district right now, this part of the time of the school year, you should have already had it because most districts in the state of Texas are about to get out. You should have had if your child was going to be eligible for extended school year services. You hear the term regression. So regression, Summer Slide kind of is another term for regression. That's the layman's term, but in the educational world, we talk about retention and regression. So Summer Slide is when there's an absence of regular structured learning opportunities that either teach new skills or reinforce skills. So that can happen and affect all parts of your child's learning. Remember, an IEP is just not for academics. It's for all of your child's educational needs. So it can be behavior, social, functional. So if your child is working on those skills during the school year in a structured learning environment, that Summer Slide can affect areas just other than academics. So we all know an IEP is just not for academics, it's to address all of your child's educational needs. And educational needs in the IEP world is behavioral needs, social needs, functional needs, all of that. So all those areas can be affected by summer slide or any regression your child has. So it has been, when we go back in school, um, in August, they talk about regression. You'll hear it. Has your child made regression since the last school year? And they're comparing the data from your child's last IEP goal, or progress report on their IEP goals, to the beginning of the school year. And you're looking at regression. You also look at regression during over break. So they talk about, has there been any regression over Christmas break? So studies show that summer slide also affects the student, it affects their academics, but it also affects their social emotional, because it maybe can affect their self-esteem. So just remember, we say summer slide here in the parent world, but when you're talking about it with your IEP teams, they're talking about, has your child had any regression? And that means, have they lost skills because they're not in a structured learning environment or have academic engagement? All right, Michelle, thank you. So why is it a concern? It's a concern because your child has made progress and you don't want them to lose progress on skills. And so the lack of academic engagement, structured learning environment, that can help to increase the learning gaps. Well, the whole point of our IEPs are to decrease the learning gaps, and we're learning skills to decrease and to work on skills. So we don't want to widen the learning gaps. So we got to think of things we can do in the summertime to keep that academic engagement, keep a little structure. And some say summer slide can lead to learning loss and motivation. So I forgot to say this. On my slides, I give you a lot of information. The special ed world is not simple. It's not easy. So, and I know parents are busy, so you may come to this presentation, you may listen to it, and then something may spark. So on the slides, I try to give you enough information to where you're not having to Google search and still go out and find information. So I'm expanding and talking about things that are on the slides, but I just wanted you to have on the slides, it's very detailed because I wanted you to have that information. So again, the big time you hear about summer slide or regression is in the fall. We talk about it here in the spring. Is the student going to qualify for eligibility for ESY, extended school year services, because they may have some regression over the summer. The other time we talk about is return to school in the fall, where we're looking at, like I said, did the student lose any of their academic, social, behavioral progress over the summer because they weren't engaged in structured learning? And when we say structured learning, it doesn't have to be like you think about in school. I'm going to talk about some ways to do some structured learning activities that are still summary, as I want to say, and fun. But you don't have to think structured learning as at a desk, sitting in a classroom, or in your classroom you make at home. Structured learning could be next slide, Michelle, could be in the kitchen. It can be out on vacation. So we're not just thinking, we're going to think outside the box here for this structured learning. So the first, summer strategies to help with summer slide. We all think ESY. We have those IEP meetings. Did your child meet eligibility for ESY? I could do a whole nother presentation on ESY because districts think it's only about regression. There's laws behind it, and there's other parameters to look at when you look at ESY. One that I want to talk about, two I want to talk about just to give a little information that you still have time to go back to your school district and talk about ESY this week. If your child has just learned a new skill and it's an emerging skill, and if they don't come to school, have extended school year services, they will lose that new skill they've acquired. That is a condition of ESY. If your child, you feel behavioral concerns are a concern or an issue, those two are two the districts usually do not look at. Like I said, I can do a whole presentation on ESY because districts just look at regression and recoupment of IEP goals. One of the main ones that I can say get students ESY services is, are they just learned a new skill, and if they don't continue in that same structured learning environment where they just learn the skill, they will lose that new skill and behavior. So ESY is one way to help from summer slide. That's the way most parents know. Another way I want to talk about is you still in the summertime need to have a daily schedule and routine. It may not be, 7:30 to 3:30, but again, you need some type of daily schedule, set up activities for your child, work on different topics for your child. These could be things your child uses to write about if they are able to write, draw pictures when they go back in the summertime, but you want to have a schedule. Maybe something you're going to start your activities, get up and do your life skills, and then do your activities maybe 11 to 3. But you want to have something that is structured that they can look forward to. This helps as you go back to school and start getting students back on a schedule. I have a 6-year-old niece. We just went to kindergarten graduation yesterday, and her mom does it and will do it like it's summer break, not summer break, Christmas break. 2 or 3 days for Christmas break, she want to try to start getting her back on her bedtime schedule. Not going to be successful. 2 or 3 days. You got to keep that same schedule. I know it's hard, but try to keep some type of same schedule because it's just going to make it even harder for you in the fall. So you need to have a daily schedule. It could be something like Wednesdays is going to be pool day, something they know that they key in that they're still working on a schedule. So when it goes back to school, they know, okay, they can see the similarities. Oh, I had a schedule in summer. Here's my schedule in school. For social skills, if you have a child who has some needs for social skills or is working on functional skills, set up play dates and social activities. You can incorporate your child's IEP goals into anything that you do. Like I said, exchange numbers at the end of the school year. Find social gatherings to go to work on. Especially, if your child has made a lot of social gains, you don't want to lose those social gains if they don't have a chance to practice those social skills. So it helps to strengthen relationships. Make sure you keep a schedule. Do fun things, but make sure your child can see the schedule. If you need to, make them a visual schedule. Mondays, we go to the movies. Tuesdays, we go to the park, and then incorporate some activity at the that uses those activities that you get on. Plan some kind of learning environment around those activities. And then again, have family activities, whether it's a vacation or weekend activities. Tuesday night is game night with the family, and do some type of fun game and try to incorporate a skill the child is working on. And so you can then, as I say at the end of the presentation, I'm going to talk about data collection. You can be collecting data and writing notes about how your child is performing through all of these social activities and learning activities you've planned for them. So just to recap, you go back real quick, Michelle, just to recap, we all know ESY. So if your child does not meet eligibility for ESY and the district says your child's not eligible for ESY services, things that you can do is, look at how you can have your own structured learning environments throughout the day. Have a daily schedule, plan play dates, plan social activities, plan family activities, and then have some kind of learning activity around that activity you just did. Michelle, thank you. Next slide. All right, community-based options, rec and leisure. As Michelle was saying, consolidated planning, some of the things they help with is transition planning. In Texas, at the age of 13, and in some states 13, Texas and New Jersey, and then at 16, you have to talk about transition in your IEPs. And you come up with the transition plan, you come up with your coordinated set of activities, and you can have coordinated set of activities in independent living, employment, work-based learning, and one that gets left out a lot is recreation. So this is a chance to investigate right here. What are community-based activities? Summer camps. There are camps specifically for students with disabilities. Sports camps. Go to your city. There are city day programs. And some of them have programs just for students with disabilities. Some of them are just any kid. I mean, they can't discriminate, but there are some specific camps and city day programs just for students with disabilities. I partner with a nonprofit in the Plano area called Dominique Cares, and they do a lot of stuff at their facility in the summertime. So this community-based options can help work on social skills. They a lot of these can help to work on if they are disability specific. They can help to work on IEP skills. But this is a reason why I really wanted to talk about this one a lot is this is an area in the transition plan too that gets left out a lot for parents is that the school doesn't really help parents on is recreation. So we all do recreational activities. And so we have to teach our students with disabilities how do you do recreational activities? Well, this is one way to engage in that in the summer, and it can be beneficial as you go back to school, especially if you're a parent of a student who is beginning that transition year. You can talk about well, what are they doing recreational wise in the community.
And if
Another,
you don't mind me jumping in for 1 second here,
okay,
we do, I mentioned that we do all kinds of webinars. Some of them that we do are panel webinars where we would have maybe 5 to 10 different summer camps or programs or, communities come on and talk about kind of in a speed dating mode.
yes.
Talk about your summer camp for 5 minutes. Everybody gets 5 minutes. So you might want to check in our YouTube channel for some of those that we've done in the past, or for any that might be coming up. You can look on our upcoming events tab, which I'll show you later. Go on, sorry to
No,
interrupt.
no problem. And a lot of summer camps, they incorporate educational activities during the day. There's arts and crafts. So there are skills that functional skills and skills that your child can learn, and they are on a schedule. Again, there we go back to that structured learning environment. It's not structured like we think in the classroom, but summer day camps do have and camps have a schedule they're going to go by. So now this is the one everybody maybe will laugh at. Go to the local library. We all have our computers and our iPads and everything. We can access everything, but there still are libraries out there. That's an activity to go to. And I know in schools, like I said, my niece is in the kids finish kindergarten. They still go check out books at the library, their library at school. So go to the plan a library day and maybe there's a summer reading list and give a child a reward for reading. If your child is working on, increasing their words per minute in their IEP goals, if they're working on comprehension questions, answering who, what, when, why, those type of questions. But one thing I want to say is if your child's at that level where they are reading and you're trying to increase their reading skills, have them read every day. If you are particularly working on comprehension, they can read or they can listen to audio books where you're trying to work on comprehension. Again, this is another one that we might think with all the technology you have, go outside. Have the children go outside. There are so many learning activities that can come from outside and playing. And again, in some students' IEPs, they have IEP goals for working on play skills. This is social. So they can go outside and, play with neighbors' kids and things like that. So everything can be incorporated into a learning activity. You can take data on all of these learning activities. For example, when they're playing outside with kids in the neighborhood, how long were they able to play? What did they engage in? Were they doing parallel play? Or was it social play where they were interacting with other kids? You can take all this information that you do in the summer. I'm talking about data collection in the summer, techniques for parents, but you can take data on all of this that you're doing and you can present it at your child's IEP meeting to help build their next IEP. If your child has a tutor, they may benefit if you've had a tutor during the year or you want to keep your tutor, they can benefit from going to tutoring once a week. Again, like I said, this structured learning environment is going to look different than at school. The schedule is going to look different. Maybe their tutor only comes once a week instead of 2 times a week. But again, that's data. Whatever the tutor works on, that's data you can get and keep and take back to your IEP teams. So now you say, oh, you have us out here going to these activities, doing these things, planning these learning activities. What do you mean by learning activities? So I'm gonna give some examples of the types of learning activities you can do as you're doing these activities in the summer, whether you're at the local library or you're outside, or you're at the pool, just different things you can do, different academic learning activities that you can do. Michelle, next slide. All right. So, of course, we want to work on multi-sensory, want to have hands-on activities. So, if your child is learning sight words, that can be incorporated into practice sight words by playing basketball. We all spell the word, horse. We play horse playing basketball. Do it with sight words and spell different sight words. This could be incorporated, that kind of activity can be incorporated into any game. Math facts. If your child is learning their math facts or their addition, subtraction, multiplication facts, you can are learning the alphabet. They're learning letter sound correspondence. You can put it on index cards. You can play scavenger hunt around the house. For our younger students, learning to their letters, learning to spell, you can do shaving cream in the sand, or I mean, you can do shaving cream on like a baking sheet. You can do sand on a baking sheet. You can spell out words. You can make it fun. You just don't have to use pencil and paper. You can do, finger paint. Take some sidewalk chalk, and take some sidewalk chalk and go outside and spell words on the sidewalk. Practice writing their name. They're outside. Remember, one of my things was go outside. It's a structured activity, but it's fun, and it's all those. So you can do. My niece has so much sidewalk chalk, it's ridiculous. I can tell when she's been outside. It's up from one end of the street to the other, and that she's writing things, drawing pictures. You may think students have to. They call them coordinated responses or something on these benchmarks they give a lot of students, where they give them, say, give them a prompt and they have to come up with an answer or a story. That's something you could do outside. Come up with the best vacation you want to go to, and the students could write about it, or they could draw a picture about it. That could be done outside on the sidewalk. That could be done on paper. These don't have to be long and engaged activities. You can practice fractions while baking. You can make sentences using objects in the community. If you're driving around in your car and you see an 18-wheeler, have your child come up with a sentence using with the 18-wheeler truck, or they see the word, I don't know, the sign Best Buy, anything. I mean, these are not, it's not hard. We also you have your next point, Michelle. You have your technology. Tap into technology. We have our ebooks, we have our podcasts. There's all kinds of online brain teasers, educational games. I'm not saying don't use technology, but we know a lot of our kids learning in school nowadays is through technology. That's why I say get outside, go to the library, go to these camps, and do learning activities and capitalize on learning activities from those, because your child's going to go back into using that uh, technology. I mean, it amazed me. My niece just graduated kindergarten, and she has an iPad, a cell phone, and a laptop. And she just got the laptop because in first grade, her school, they start using computers. And I'm like, so if you can do things outside of the technology, because they're going to be using that all school year. Their homework may be on technology, but there are a lot of good online brain teasers, educational online games that practice math facts. Just thinking here, I mean, these are so out of the box. There's a great math facts website I use that you can make worksheets off of. Just sitting here now thinking about it, you could create a 100 problem math facts worksheet and cut them up and put the math facts around the house for the kids to go and find and solve a row of the worksheet where there's addition and multiplication, and tape them up around the house and have your child go find them and solve them. Just something quick and easy.
One of my favorite games when I tutor students is that I put their sight words on index cards, and you can do
Mhm.
this inside or outside. And I give them a stack of index cards and just let them throw those up in the air and scatter them all over the room. And then I say, okay, go get me a card. And they run over there and grab a card and bring it back. Okay, what word is that? And then they tell me the word and I tell them if they're correct. And then, okay, go find another one. Or if I can see if it lands face up, I'll say, go find me the word time. And they'll go find it and bring it back to me. So that game can be played a couple different ways, and the kids just love it.
Well, just hearing you do that, you can do another one where you take maybe 10 words and you duplicate them on cards, and same thing, find the matching card and
Mm.
give it to them, and the matching card is taped up around the house or outside in the backyard somewhere, and they have to go find the matching card. This, nothing where you got to recreate anything. These are just little bitty activities to work on goals. Also, there are tons of educational board games. Again, I say our children are on technology so much now. They want to utilize it for their free time. They utilize it at school. Let's do some brain teaser puzzles. Let's do some educational and non-educational board games. And non-educational because you're working on functional skills. You're working on working together. If there's games working together, you're working on turn taking. You're working on time on task. Those are all functional skills. So even a non-educational board game can work on, social skills that your child needs to work on, or functional skills. And you could have, okay, we're going to play this board game for 20 minutes. That's a time on task. A lot of parents, when we start talking about transition, they think transition is in middle school, starts in middle school. It does. That's legally 13 in Texas, 16 in other states. But you can work on transition in elementary school. Time on task is transition. We all have to go to work and we all have to stay on task for a certain period of time. So some students that our parents I work with, they have time on task goals in their IEP. You just don't have to work on time on task, a functional goal, just when you're doing academic work. It can be where you're doing, chores around the house. They work 20 minutes on this goal, or you're playing a non-educational board game. So it can be an educational board game that's working on social skills that your child may have in their IEP. It can be working on functional skills. So there's a way to work on all of your. Remember, an IEP is just not for academics or social, emotional, functional, all of that. So everything doesn't have that you do in the summer doesn't have to be centered around academics. There can be some social and functional aspects to it too. All right, so let's talk about, you've done all these things and you want to make sure that these things are going to be useful as you build your child's next IEP. So, one thing is when you're going into doing these activities in the summer, you want to make sure you reviewed your child's current IEP and their last IEP progress report. So you'll know, well, what do my child really need to work on in the summertime? So you want to make sure, if you haven't gotten that, and if you've never heard of an IEP progress report, you are supposed to get an IEP progress report at least at the same time as regular report cards. Remember, your child who receives special ed services, they're a general ed student who receives special ed services. So they get their regular general ed report card and they get the IEP progress report. So as you're looking at things to do this summer, you want to make sure you get that last IEP progress report. It should be coming home sometimes the last week of school. So work on IEP goals. Like I said, take the time to determine which IEP goals you want to work on. You don't have to work on all of your child's IEP goals. You could work on one or two goals and break down the skills. You can plan your structured learning activities, your retention skills based on those goals. And remember, you want to work on things, just not academics. You want to work on skills if your child has goals in their IEP for independence and social skills. And you want to, find fun ways to work on these goals. So I would say that's the first thing you need to do. If you have not received your child's last IEP progress report, you want to reach out to your district, your child's teacher, make sure that if it has not come, that it is coming. That's going to give your child's most updated progress on their IEP goals, and you'll know where you need to go from there, with what skills and what activities you may need to work on from there. Let's see. Okay, so now data collection. Well, you've done all of this. You just don't want to do it. Not saying you're not doing it for nothing. You're doing it so your child can work on it, but you want to have proof. You want to, just like the school brings data, and we ask the IEP team and the school side to bring data when they're coming to offer of their free offer of a free and appropriate public education. We ask them for data to support what they're recommended. You as a parent can also bring data that is part of your parent input statement. So how does a parent collect data? We think data is only for teachers. So we do have to say, I do have a question in the chat. Did you say we should receive IEP progress reports every 9 weeks? Just like, yes, unless you in your IEP meeting, you have worked out a different time schedule. Most districts send them, and it says in concurrence with report cards. If you go into your child's IEP, and you look at their goals, right under each goal, it says when report cards will be sent. I mean, when IEP progress reports will be sent. Minimally, they should be sent with report cards. So if your child gets report cards every 6 weeks, then or every 9 weeks. So let's talk about data collection techniques. So as you're doing all of these activities this summer, how can you collect data? You have observations and anecdotal records. So you're outside with your child, or y'all are out at the swim park or wherever you're at, and you want to write a quick summary of what happened today. We all have our phones. You can use the notes section of your phone to keep a little journal of your child's activities. Now, remember, an observation is structured. It has a beginning and end time. But if you're just doing anecdotal records, like this is what we did today, those are more descriptive. It's about an event, a series of events. So you can use the notes section in your phone and make a diary and collection. Portfolios, if you're working on more academics, and you're using maybe, some projects, worksheets, things like that, you can make a portfolio of your child's work over the summer. If they're working with a tutor or other service providers, you can make a portfolio of all their work. This would incorporate the next one, which is work samples. You can do just an overall portfolio of their work, or if you're working on, just remember I said pick one or two IEP goals to work on. So say you pick one that incorporates math. All of your work samples and your portfolio will be built around math work samples and math activities and tasks that they've done. You can also do checklists. For instance, if you got that IEP progress report and your child has been working on a skill, and there are maybe 4 parts to that skill, and your child has made progress on the other made progress only 2 of those pieces of that skill, you can have a checklist as you work and try to move that child forward to obtaining that skill. So a checklist is a list of behaviors identifying a child's skill and knowledge enables this teaching of parents to observe and easily check off. So if your child has a functional skill of learning to use the microwave, and you're working with the school and they have that skill broken down in a checklist, and your child has only been able to do the first 2 steps of that checklist, you continue to work on that same checklist at home. I also want to say, and I haven't said, talk to your teachers ask for that progress report, ask what your child has been working on. You ask them to send some extension activities. If they are utilizing a visual schedule at school, visuals, ask them to send anything that they feel would help you in the summer, visuals, checklists that you may be able to utilize, so your child is utilizing the same learning materials they've utilized all summer. You don't want to have to recreate this stuff. this is not, that makes it even harder. So ask for that progress report and ask, is there anything my child, any mnemonic device, any learning aid that my child has utilized all school year? Can you send me a copy? Hopefully you've had that all school year and you're just not getting it. But if you haven't, any checklist where they're breaking down tasks, because it's going to help this familiarity. It's going to help the child learn better if they're familiar and you're not having to recreate things. I think we have four more pictures. We all have our phones. You can all take pictures, audio and video recordings. I think this one is really good video recording, especially if your child is working on reading so many words per minute. You can take a video of your child reading, um, your child reciting their alphabet, your child doing letter sound correspondence. If your child's completing tasks around the house, if your child has functional skills, you can take videos of them doing that task from start to finish if they're learning how to utilize the microwave, utilize the washing machine. And then you can do just typical data collection sheets of IEP goals. That's where you're marking their progress with the 70% or anything, 70% accuracy over so many trials. That's kind of what the teachers utilize. That's the reason why it's kind of last on the list, because parents usually can utilize other data collection techniques, but there still are data collection sheets where you're documenting their progress on goals, frequency, duration, number of trials, accuracy. And then, we all are still we love our electronic. There are apps that you can do data collection on. Just remember, a lot of the apps are geared toward educators. So you, just like with any app, you find the app that's best for you. But there are tons. I can't tell you that these here are still around. Apps come and go. But one, if you have an iPhone, the Notes app is a scanner. So if you're saving things, on your iPhone that your child does, as far as, if they do paper or create a project and finish it, and there's a work sample, you can scan that piece of paper and you can save that project or that worksheet. But these, going through trying to explain, I think these are some of the simplest data collection techniques for parents to utilize. And just remember, these can be utilizing your parent input statement that you do with your IEP. You can utilize this data, and I call it for my clients, we call it a vision statement. So this information that you utilize and you learn from your child this summer can be used to back up a request that you're going to make for your child's next IEP. So now, what's one thing you should be doing as a parent? You've had these IEP meetings all year. You've got new evaluations. You've gotten report cards. You've gotten progress reports. What should you be doing this summer? One thing you should be doing: organizing your child's educational records. Okay. Remember, there's a space here for copies of student work samples, any data collection sheets. So as you've gathered things over the summer, here is a place for you to store them physically if you need to. So you can do this in a 3-ring binder or any kind of cloud storage. You can get all kinds of free storage on Google Drive, Dropbox. There's also a box.com. So if you're doing it in a 3-ring binder, if you're doing it in a 3-ring binder, you can use tabs, or if you're doing it on iCloud storage, you can create folders for each of these areas. So one, you must have your recent IEP, or if your child's on a 504 plan, you want to have the most recent evaluation and any outside evaluations, copies of progress reports on IEP goals and objectives. And then you want to put them together, report cards, or you can do 2 separate areas. You can have one for IEP goals or progress reports, and you can have a section for report cards. You can have copies of student work samples that you've done, or if you've gotten work samples from the school. You can copies of any data collection sheets that you've made. There are samples of data collection sheets on the internet where you can write in the student's goal and type in the goal, and you can take frequency and duration. I would start working on your parent input statement for your child's IEP. I do a whole nother workshop on vision statements and parent input statements, but your vision statement, it's called parent input, but I like to reframe the wording and call it your vision for your child. That goes in the present level section. So you're gathering data and information to work on. I need to redo this slide. It's not as important now as it was a couple of years ago. But still, I still have some parents who are trying to get services back that were before pre-COVID. So this was a really one before COVID. If you had anything that changed your child's IEP because of the school closures, you want to have a copy of that. I would create a parent contact log and a copy of important emails. We all are technology based. But technology can fail us. It does happen. So parent contact log and copy of any important emails. If you're just creating that paper trail, remember, if it's not in writing, it didn't happen. Another good technique I want to give as you're organizing things this summer is create a separate email account that you create that you communicate with the school. I have a lot of times where I'll do consultations with parents and I say, well, do you have a copy of this and this? And I say, oh, let me check my personal email. And they're putting in search terms, trying to find certain emails because it's all mixed up with their personal emails. Create an email, your child's name or their school at, yahoo.com, google.com, and only communicate with the school with that email. And that's a way where you make sure you get all of your educational records, and then you can create this storage. And it's up to you on how far back you keep. I would, recent IEP or 504 plan, I would, one or two, at least two of those back, current FIE, evaluation, you maybe want to have at least two of those. But it's up to you on how much information you keep. But these are important sections you should have in your binder or your online storage. And then a copy of your parental rights. And everybody knows that procedural safeguards, they give you a copy, they send it to you electronically or give you a copy at your meetings. You want to have a copy of that in case something comes up. It is available online, but just a quick reference. I mean, I know everything is electronic. Me personally, I keep both versions of folders for my clients. I have a paper copy of everything, and I have everything in so many different places electronically in case something happens to a cloud storage, or I have it on my computer. I pay for upper cloud storage. But as a parent, this is your homework assignment. If you want to think of your homework assignment for the summer, get your child's paperwork organized. It will make the IEP process less stressful. And all of that information you gathered about your child over the summer during your activities can go under work samples and go into your vision statement. So everything builds on one another. You're just not doing those. You're doing those activities with your child to work on their skills and to decrease summer slide, but it's also you're gathering data that will be beneficial and helping to get your child the next appropriate IEP and to show the district what your child can do and to help develop your IEP towards your child's future goals.
Do you ever do vision statement sessions where you talk about just specifically building up the vision statement?
Yeah, I schedule things throughout the school year. And last slide, remember to have fun. I mean, there we are on the beach. There's a picture of the beach. You could be somewhere on vacation. I know you might not want to, but for 20 minutes, your child could practice writing their name or writing words in the sand. Michelle, I do those. They're scheduled. I do a vision statement workshop where we look at, interactive and things like that. I have a couple of different ones that I do, but I do particular workshops on those. One of the more frequent ones I've been doing lately that I developed this year is it's called the Art of Parent Input, and we talk about the vision statement in that. And then I have another workshop that's more a working workshop on a vision statement workshop where you kind of work on writing a vision statement. But the art of parent input is just about why laws, and I go over what can be in a parent input statement. And then the vision statement workshop is more interactive. And I schedule those throughout the school year. Some are on weekday evenings and some are on Saturday mornings.
And how do people sign up for those?
They will be, I have I'll type it in the chat. I have
Okay.
a business Facebook page and I have a website. And anytime I do an event, they are advertised there, any event. And then I also have a personalized learning for all. I have a parent Facebook group. Um, and then if you search on Instagram, or Facebook, Personalized Learning Solutions, you'll be able to find it. But everything is advertised on my website or on the business page, Instagram, Facebook, and then everything is registered through Zoom registration that we do those. So probably the beginning of the school year for anybody listening, I usually do it in August. I host two vision. There we go. It's all right there. I host two vision statement workshops usually begin the school year so parents can understand the importance of getting their parent input into the IEP. So there you can see there's my email, personalized learning solutions at gmail.com. I have a private parent Facebook group where you can post information. There's the link to that. Um, and all of my social media handles and stuff are on my website. And then I also wrote an ebook, 2022, I think, ridiculous and red flag statements said at IEP meetings. And it gives you some education on the law and everything. But then I go over in categories over 50 crazy statements you might have heard at IEP meetings. So it's a little fun book that's available on Amazon, but it does have some educational tips in there too about getting ready for IEP meetings and things. But my website right there, email website has all of my social media handles on it. But anything I do is advertise. I'm actually going into the next month break. Everybody's getting their break. So,
Mm-hmm.
but one of the first workshops I do in August will be vision statements so parents can start thinking of that vision for their child for the school year. That's one of the first ones I do. I do a
Fantastic.
transition planning workshop. I have a strength-based IEP workshop. Then I have the art of parent input workshop. So I do different ones. On my website, you can see a list of all the workshops that I can offer.
And all of these links, when the audience receives these slides later on today, they will be clickable. So you'll be able to click right onto
Mhm.
these links. There is one question in the chat. I want to go over my last 2 or 3 slides.
Okay.
And then any other questions, if you have more questions, put them in the chats while I'm wrapping up, and then we'll get to all of those. So this is just a list of some of the topics that we cover in our various webinars, the future cost of care, the waiver programs, state and federal benefits like SSI, SSDI, ABLE accounts, special needs trust, residential living, legal issues like guardianship and power of attorneys, all of that stuff we help families with. You'll receive this slide with a link to all of our upcoming webinars so that you can go ahead and see what we've got coming up and register for those. Once you register, even if you don't attend, you will receive the slides and the link to the recording. This is our team. Again, we're located just outside of Houston, but we serve families all across the United States. We're an independent firm. And the 4 advisors on our team, we all work collaboratively on all of our clients. And then we have a fantastic staff of professionals who keep us on task. They're
Yes.
the ones who actually make the world go round.
Yes, Meredith. Meredith Hayes.
And Meredith sets up all these great webinars. Yes. We offer a free consultation for anyone who wants one. Please go ahead and sign up for this. We will be reaching out to you to see if you want to. You can use the QR code to sign up. You can call the office. You can email us. These free consultations usually take about 30 to 45 minutes. we answer any questions that you might have. You can pick our brains as financial special needs planners and ask whatever questions you have. And then we'll go over kind of who we are and how we work and what we charge if you wanted to move forward with us. We learn about you and you learn about us. Like I said, it's over Zoom, completely free. Please, please sign up for your free consultation. And then you will find all of our social media links down there, the YouTube channel, the Instagram. We have a podcast in case you like to listen instead of watch these webinars, and our Facebook page. Okay, so that is all of my stuff. So now we can go back to Miss Shemica, and we've got one last question I see for you. How many hours of EYS is required for the school to offer a family?
So for extended school year, ESY, there is not a requirement. It's based on student need. And usually in your meetings, you will talk about what skills or goals your child is going to work on. In ESY, again, may not work on every IEP goal. So it's based on student need. There's no requirement of how many hours.
Okay. Well, I don't see any other questions, so
Me
I will
neither.
just wrap it up and say thank you so much for presenting with us today, for sharing our audiences and giving us all of this wisdom. This has been some great information on how to make sure that you keep your kids actively engaged this summer. You don't want them just sitting on the couch playing video games all day long. So this has
Yes,
been very, very informative. And we appreciate the audience, the
yes,
participants for sticking with us and listening. And again, if you have any questions for either one of us, you have all of our contact information, all of the different ways to contact Consolidated Planning Group or Shemica Allen with all of her expertise. So please reach out to either one of us for help. And I hope you have a fantastic week, everybody. Thank
yes.
you.
And a
Thank
good
you so much,
summer.
Shemica.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.